Hello, everyone. Welcome to OneClick Factory webinar about the Azure. So demystifying our Azure and how to convince our customers to move to Azure with Business Central. I am Tomas Stankevičius, R&D lead. Most probably some of you know me more as a technical person. I was running a nav business some time ago. As well, I was running cloud business at OneClick Factory. But today, my presentation is more or less oriented to salespeople, because the question is how to convince. So it's not how to do a technical design or how to develop everything, but how to convince our customers. So let me start, and I would like to start from agenda. So at the beginning, let's review what are our main roadblocks and fears, what customers are afraid of. Then it's also very important to answer to the question of why choose cloud-based services in general, and why IT companies choose and why customers choose this path. Also, to make a decision, we need to understand who is our decision maker. So we need to find the right people and we need to find the right message to them. How to price our services and what else is very important when we talk about the cloud services. So if you have any questions for me, or you would like to get some answers related to Azure and the Business Central, please write them in a Q&A part. I will come back to that at the end of this presentation. So I will be answering those at the end. So please write those questions and expect to get them answered at the end. So let's start. And the first is what are the main roadblocks? So as you probably know, and maybe some of you even remember, like me, who started this Business Central or NAV or NAV or Navision or Business Central. So there are tons of names, and for some even Navigator. So you remember this Business Central and NAV growing path. So at the beginning, it was pretty complex. It was really hard to understand what the product is. It has a lot of functionality. At that time, it actually had not so much, but nevertheless, it was looking very complex. And then we saw that it's very complicated and we'll never learn. So the same is actually for Azure. When you start your journey with Azure, it sounds very complex. And then it seems like, so what I need to do now? And then, like it was for Business Central, for NAV, or for Navision, it was also very complicated pricing, as you remember. Same is for Azure when you start this journey. So you can always relate to your experience that you had when you started ERP business in general, when you started ERP journey, like you're now starting with Azure. So you have the same challenges, and those are for everyone. Also, it seems sometimes that it's very expensive, and it sometimes feels like it's more expensive even than on-prem. So you need to find the right solutions. And still a big question is actually, so it's not safe. But what is in reality? So if you think about the Azure, like you think about the on-prem solution, you might be right in a lot of situations, but you need to change your mindset. You need to change the way on how you look at this. In reality, you need to start looking on Azure cloud way, as I call it. So it's not the same like taking on-prem solution and putting it on cloud. It's a different way. And today's presentation will help you to think about this, to try to look from different angles and different perspectives, and to find the solutions for those main roadblocks and fears of most of the customers. So at the end of the day, actually, what you need to try to do is not to try to outsource the servers, but to use all the cloud benefits that are. So let me go. So how to convince, how to overcome this? So at the beginning, we need to understand why cloud, why in general customers and IT companies need cloud. So why they choose to go that way. Then, as I mentioned, we need to define, so who is our decision makers and how to make a right message for each of the decision makers. Then probably it's interesting to see, so what are the differences when you think about the SaaS and on-prem? And you might be asking, so will I be comparing those two products? And the answer is no. The answer is more about looking at those, let's say, even 4 different possibilities, and where we take one responsibility, where we take another, how we should look at those services, and how in very simple examples it may look like. And probably one of the key questions which is asked at least at the end when you try to sign an agreement is, so price. So let me go through all those topics and try to find the answers for them. So why cloud? And I will start from IT companies, because I think it's very important to understand why it's important for us. When we know why it's important for us, why we would like to have this business, only then we can look at our customers and help them, because then we see business for us. So why cloud first? So usually it's if we want to get a market share. So a lot of organizations, business organizations, they are trying to get the market. And it's a question always, would you like to be the first one in that market, or you would like just to join this, as they call, red ocean, use the red ocean strategy and join already matured market? So it's your decision where you would like to join and how you would like. Then other companies decide to go for the cloud just because of their strategy. Like OneClick Factory, we started, I would call, cloud journey 6-7 years ago, where we created our website, where we created our business portal, and when we started to offer cloud services for our partners. So now it's a part of our strategy. Now everything that we do in our organization is related, and we think from the cloud perspective on how we can put it on cloud, how we can serve through cloud, and so on and so on. Some of us actually are convinced to go that way just because Microsoft said that we need to go. And they are supporting us only in the situations when we are talking about the cloud. But it's also a way, it's also a solution, and it's also a possibility for us. And the worst scenario, as I can call, is when our existing customers come to us and say, guys, can you give me something on Azure, on the cloud? And this is the first time we are looking at it. So I hope that it will never happen with your organization, and you will be ready and you will come up already with the solutions. But it's also a way how IT company become thinking about the cloud. But my preferable one is when I have a strategy and when I would like to get some market share and I would like to get some profits out of this business. So for us, it's easy for IT companies, but how to convince customers? Because now we need to understand what customers think when we talk about the cloud. And one of the first things we need to know is we need to know our customers. So we need to understand what challenges and strategies they have. So we need to understand what they are looking for and what are their expectations. And we need to understand who is our decision maker. And you will be surprised. In reality, we can choose who is a decision maker, depending on how we will message. So I will come up to this a little bit later. Let me start from this main question. So why cloud and why customers choose the cloud? So from my perspective, I see like 6 core needs of customers where they decide, where they are making their decision on why to go for the cloud. And the first one is definitely cost, even though people sometimes say that cost is not so important. At the end of the day, they are looking at the cost. So it's one of the factors. I will take it as a last one because I will also give some examples, some suggestions on how we can work with the pricing. But there are other 5 which are also very important. And I will come through each of them and will explain what are the main situations and how to overcome or how to message, how you can message in general to manage that need. So others are flexibility, it's security, as I mentioned, one of the key topics. It's also improved collaboration and going green. So let me start from the first one, which is flexibility. What is the usual audience when we talk about the flexibility and speed? So in most of the cases, it's small companies. And you might be surprised, you will say that even when you talk to enterprise, they also talk about the flexibility and speed to market. But in reality, it's a different understanding on what is the speed in an enterprise and what is the speed in a small organization. So in enterprise, speed might be that they are releasing product in a 1 year period, whilst for small organization, if they will keep it for 1 year, they will just get out of the business. So it's a different kind of understanding. And from my perspective, when we talk about the speed is not 1 year. The speed is when you really do it very fast in an agile way, release every month and similar stuff. So this I understand as a speed, as a flexibility, as a reaction to the market. And so how to approach? So if you get this question or you get this requirement or need from your customer when you analyze, so how to prepare? So first of all, you need to have a very fast implementation method. And those who are working with NAV and Business Central for like 10 years already, you probably heard a lot of messaging from Microsoft about the verticalization, about the SV solutions and similar stuff. Nothing is changed. In reality, if you want to have a fast implementation, you need to have a standard solution. There is no other formulas to have it very quickly, unless you will have a very big team who will do everything very fast, or you will have amazing processes to help that. But it's easier just to have a very standard solution which fits your customer needs, and then to go with that solution. And when we talk about this fast implementation and we talk about this vertical solution, we always need to remember we need to add support to that solution. And support is not just answering the questions of our customers. The support is also how we manage trainings, how we do this regularly, how we upload the changes of our solution and how we inform on that, and so on and so on and so on. So it's quite a lot of stuff you need to think about when we talk about the flexibility and speed to market. Next question is actually scalability. So when we talk about the scalability, our primary audience is fast-growing companies, I would say, and startups. Why? So why it's important for them? Because especially startups at the beginning, they do not have enough money to buy big servers, to buy ERP expensive solution, to rent the very expensive consultants, and so on and so on. They would like just to start the business, and their focus today is more to start the business. Same is for the fast-growing organization. They need environment where when they grow, environment grow together with them. That they don't need to think about the servers, about the new IT stuff, and about the whatever else is needed for that. So how to talk to those organizations? So, and how to be prepared. So at the beginning, when we talk about such a companies, again, verticalization will help a lot. And if you have a vertical solution which allows scalability, then it's perfect. If you have a cloud solution which allows scalability, is also perfect. When you can increase servers, when you can grow, when you can change configuration and similar stuff very easily and very quickly, you're already supporting. But you always need to remember that to support such a companies, you also need to have a performance test. And you will ask why? Why it's so important to have that? Because we have a solution, it's already working. But when the organization scale, they have different expectations today, and they will have different expectations tomorrow. And they will have a different number of users tomorrow, and they will have everything different tomorrow. They even may have different business processes, and more complex solution will be used, more features, and so on and so on. So you need to have a performance test to check if it still be working after 1 year, or maybe even after a few months, if organization is growing fast enough. So you need to be prepared for that. You also need to prepare your pricing model. Again, when we talk about the organizations and when we talk about those fast growing and startups, at the beginning, you would like not to lose all the money. But when the organization grows, you cannot ask the same amount for a single user because it becomes too expensive, and they can find different solutions in the market which will be cheaper when you compare to this, which is dedicated or prepared for small organizations. So we need to think about that also. And again and again and again, trainings are important part. When organizations grow, how people will be trained. In most of the cases, when we think about that, people are just left. You just did a project, implemented, and forgot. It's not the right way if you want to convince those organizations to go for the cloud. You need to have some model on how you will train new users, or how they will be able to train new users. Like, Microsoft, what they are doing, they are providing for us as a partners training materials. They are providing us training courses. And actually, there is a lot of videos on YouTube where you can find on how you can work with Business Central. So Microsoft doing a lot of work for us. But all of the stuff, or at least the one that I can understand, is in English. And you cannot find in most of the local language, especially for companies like us, where we are in a small country. No one is trying to translate it to that language. So either you have it in English or you have nothing. And there are quite some people who are not very fluent in English. So you need to think about those trainings and how you will help your customers, how you will be a partner for your customers when they will grow, and how you will train them. And also you need to remember that, again, functionality may be improved and they may start using it more and more. So again, you need to have something to offer to have them as a partners. So this needs to be prepared, and this needs to be thought through, and this should be presented to your customer to convince them that it's very easy. You can scale, and we will support you when you will be big one. Next question, which actually is still quite important, and I would say that a lot of organizations still questioning this, is about the security. And we at OneClick Factory, we do a lot of communication about why Azure is more secure than on-prem. So you can always approach us and we will share with you a lot of information about that. You can also join our other webinars about the security. But in general, what are the audiences for the security? And everyone will ask, more or less. Some will be asking at the beginning, some will be asking at the end, but the most critical will be for those who are working with very sensitive information, or for the enterprise, because they already have their ID stuff, they already have their procedures, they already have their strategy for security, so they will have a lot of questions. So what you need to do at the beginning? At the beginning, you need to understand what they mean by saying security. Because when you know what they mean, for some it will be, will I be able to connect it and nobody else will be able to connect? And this, if you will answer yes, you will be the only one who will be able to connect, this will be enough. But for those organizations that I mentioned, usually it will not. So you need to understand this level of their expectations, so where they would like you to be. And when you know that, then you need to use your own strategy. So first of all, certificates help a lot. So if you can certify yourself on security part, so we as OneClick Factory, we are certified under ISO 27001, which is one of the most well-known security certifications in Europe. There are other in US and in Asia. But when we talk about the Microsoft Azure, so you don't need to think about that as very unsecured, because Microsoft Azure is, I would say, the most secured platform or the most secured cloud around the world. It's the most certified cloud around the world. So no local players, no other organizations will have so many certificates and so high security when we talk about the cloud. So, but as I mentioned, you also need to remember yourself, because you as a partner, you are in the middle. And if your processes, if your organization doesn't look at security seriously, then you already have a challenge. And if you're already certified and you already have the procedures, show them to those organizations. Help them understand that you are really care about their security, not only yours, but also customer security. And whatever they will do, you will be supporting them. And actually, this GDPR, you probably know about that, supporting us in Europe a lot. So it's very good that we have that, and all of us should be compliant to GDPR requirements, and I believe that we are. Why not to mention? Why not to mention that we are at least GDPR compliant if we do not have any other certifications? So do that, and then you will get some credits from those customers as well. If you would like to get more about the security and what are the levels and what are responsibilities, so as I mentioned, you can contact OneClick Factory, and we will support you by providing some webinars, some more information, and so on and so on. So what is the next topic? The next topic is very simple, and it's improved collaboration and availability. When it's so important? So usually it's for those organizations who are international. If they are doing business all around the world, they need to connect to their solution, to their ERP solution from all around the world. And yes, one of the ways is when you have your local servers and everyone is connecting through VPN connection, but this is really a nice and good solution. I would say it's easier to have it on the cloud where everyone can connect. Everyone who has enough permissions and rights can connect, and it's easier to maintain when it's on the cloud. So even if customer will use, for example, power in their building, the solution will be still available for all other countries or all other offices. So those are one of the organizations. Another one is actually when people are doing on-site sales, or as I call, modern organizations. We now have using this modern quite a lot. Microsoft is using modern for modern client. I'm using this for modern organizations. Those organizations who are really looking on having a possibility to connect to their ERP everywhere at any time. So this is where I would look. And how to convince them? The easiest way I would see is just to do a demo. Take your computer, take your mobile phone, take your, I don't know, tablet device, and show those. Show how you can connect from everywhere with any device and how it's easy to use when you're using one or another device. And this will be the best one. And if it's not enough, and if you see in the market that, for example, Business Central views are too complex, use Power Apps. So you can always create a very simple Power App, which will help you to show that even very complicated scenarios can be solved with very simple pages, views, and forms. So look at this as one of the possible solutions, but demo is definitely the best way to show that it's easy to use it every time, everywhere, at any time. What is next? So next is actually one of the topics that I found surprising. So I never thought that people are looking at Azure, moving to the cloud, as going green. But when I've started to study this going green, I understood that actually I like Microsoft for that. And why? It's very easy to say that Microsoft really investing a lot for going green. And one of the things that I found is that Microsoft promised to have 60% of all electricity that is used in their data centers last year to be generated by this green energy. Cool. Do we have it at home, or do we have it in our organizations? Not everyone. So it's going more and more popular to have this green energy and to use it. And another one very important fact when we talk about the cloud, which is also another point of view, is that those servers that we have on the cloud, those servers are organized in such a way that it actually use, as it's calculated, 93% less, not less, more efficient, 93% more efficient than those that are on premise. And it's very easy to convince that, because you don't need a special room for that, and you don't need to cool it. You don't need to have just a server for yourself, which is over-resourced, because you don't need it now, but you will be needed you will need this in the future, and so on and so on. So it's really saving when we talk about the electricity, and it's in most of the situations it's saving as we are using green energy. So for those organizations who have it as a strategy, or who just follow the market trend and going green, you have facts which will convince them that yes, cloud is actually thinking about the future. And you're probably already waiting for the topic about the price, and here we go. So cost effectiveness is one of the parameters of one of the needs that our customers have. So how to work on that? And I would say that it's for everyone. It's not something very special. At the end of the day, everyone asks for the price. They are not just buying and saying, install me and then just send me news. Nobody does this. So everyone asks for the price. Especially, as you mentioned, it's important for startups and fast growth, because those organizations, they have where to use their cash, as it's called. So they don't want to buy licenses, they don't want to buy servers and similar stuff. They would like to have it as a service, more or less. And this as a service has different views. I will come to that a little bit later. But if you want to talk about the cost effectiveness, you need to know who is a decision maker. And as I mentioned before, you can choose. In some of the situations, you can choose. You can go from one to another and just to provide the correct information. If you will go with some scenarios, you already predefine who will be a decision maker. Because I'm pretty sure that in most of organizations, CEO, the one who is sometimes being a founder of an organization, he or she doesn't care about network or server sizes or how much RAM you put in the server. They don't. They usually think about different stuff. But let me come to this decision maker topic just now. So let's say I would like to have a CEO as my decision maker. So what I should do? So what is important for those people? As you know, they have budgets. So because they need to organize somehow their business, they need to have it as much as possible predictable to understand how much they can invest and how much they would get out of that. They also think about the sales revenue. They also think about the cash flow. Again, we can discuss about those small organizations or startups and fast-growing organizations where cash flow is one of the key topics when we talk about the investments. So if you want to talk to shareholders or if you want to talk to CEO in the organization, then you need to have a conversation about those topics. And then you need to convert all the conversations from pricing on the server, on electricity, on rooms and other stuff in how much you would like to pay per employee. What is your investment per employee that is acceptable? Or how you think that you should invest per employee? Because this will be easier for them to understand. They know that they have employees, they know that they have a cost for them, and it's just on top of what they pay as a salary. And then you have a conversation on that level. Others try also to compare. So, okay, let me compare what I would pay if I go for on-prem with 3 and 5 years and what I will get if I go SaaS. Don't do that. It's not the right conversation because nobody knows what will happen in 5 years. And we have today a very good situation with COVID-19 where nobody was expecting that 2 or 3 or 5 years ago. And we have a situation where some of organizations needs to reduce number of employees. Some of organizations would like to have more cash in their pockets. This is where cloud works. And this is where you can think about the per employee pricing. And this which will help organizations to scale up and scale down if situation require that. So this is how we can start talking with CEOs, not with others. But not in every organization you can succeed to get to that. So what if your decision maker is person from the finance? Again, you need to understand what is important for those people. So finance finance, usually they are looking at financial reporting. They also looking at the budget, but from the number perspective. They also looking on how their books looks like. So what is income, what is payment, and so on and so on. So at the end of the day, anyway, they will be in a decision maker, let's say, group. So they will anyway analyze and they will provide some insights to CEO or technical people. But if you want to convince those people, show features which support them. For example, you can show some very nice features in Power BI, how they can easier provide reports to CEO, but you need to understand what are those reports and what kind of information is needed. And do some similar stuff where you will convince that finance people, they will get the same information that they need today in much, much faster way. And then you will have those people on your board as well. So this is the easiest way to find them, see what is important, and try to convince. And the next actually decision maker is, I would say, from my personal experience working at the partner side, is where we always need to take it seriously. And why I say that we need to take it seriously, because when we talk about technical person, when we talk about CTO or any other role in the organization, I can definitely say that this person can help you or can break a deal. So you need to make it to look at this person always seriously. And it's very important, because if this organization is not a new one where they are just starting the business, so probably it will be maybe even CEO who is a technical guy. But if you have an organization who has a lot of experience and they already have IT staff, those people seems like losing the most, because they used to manage their servers, they used to manage their network, they used to manage a lot of stuff. And they feel that they are losing a lot. So you need to take a real attention to those people to convince them and to explain that it's not only about that. They are taking out some of responsibility from their shoulders. So they don't need to be 24/7 available. If server shut down, they don't need to go to the office to switch on. They're getting a lot of benefits of that. They don't need to convince every time they need to buy a new server that you need to pay 10,000 or 50,000 or 100,000. It just as pay as you go and similar stuff. So it's a different conversation. And as well, especially for young people, it's important because this is the future. So they are going for something that is a future. Don't tell this to when CEO is in the room, because everyone tries to keep the people within organizations. But you can always say you will be more valuable in the market if you will know what is new, rather than you will know what is old style. So you can work on that and get the technical people on your bench as well. So, but don't forget about those. Technical people are very, very important, and they sometimes as much important as real decision maker who is putting the final signature. So always remember those. So now you know who can be your decision makers. Now you also know how you can look at it and how you can try to convince those decision makers to go your way. What is next? Next is to prepare an offer. So to have something that you can offer to your customers. So at the beginning, there are two things. So SaaS or on-prem. And I would say we need to look from 4 different angles. So we need to look at it at critical and high importance features. So what is the most important for those customers? We need to understand what level of control they expect to have, because it might be a decision to go one or another way. We need to understand what is risk management in the organization and how they see a risk management, where they would like to take risk on their own and where they believe that this is a risk on a customer side or on a partner side, and also about the cash flow. And when you have the answers to those 4 questions, then you can think about SaaS or on-prem. And when we talk about SaaS on-prem, is not just 2. as I mentioned. It's actually 4. Why it's 4? We have a very nice words: SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, and on-prem. So you need to define where this customer would like to go. Would they, and where you would like with your customer to go. Because at the end of the day, you can provide to your customer as a SaaS solution, even though you are doing this as a starting point from infrastructure as a service. So you can run by yourself all the Azure servers, you can do all the configurations, all the management, and so on, and provide the final solution to your customer as a SaaS solution. So for customer, it will be SaaS. For you, it will be infrastructure as a service. You can do it various ways, but you cannot provide to a customer infrastructure as a service by having to yourself software as a service. It's not possible. So you need to be on the same level or one level lower to provide to your customer higher. And I will not go through all the lines in this slide and in this table, but in general, as I mentioned, it's a conversation about the 4 topics. When you have an answer, then you can look where you can be. And the one thing that I really want to mention, when you think about the SaaS and when you think about the cloud, you always need to remember that there is a big difference on where you do this, just hosting on-prem version on cloud or doing it in cloud way. And you will ask, so what is the difference? Very simple example. So you can just take everything as was on a customer sites before. So they have a servers, they have a SQL server for each of the customer, they have a lot of RAM, because even though they never used that, just for the future, you can do the same on the cloud. And then you will have it very expensive on-prem solution on cloud. But if you think it's cloud way, then you will be thinking about, so how I can share those SQL servers, how I can share the resources of the servers. Maybe I can use some multi-tenant solution versus single-tenant solution. You already see that I'm going to a technical terminology, but this is a passion where I have. So I'm, as I mentioned, I'm technical guy. So I always move to that. But in general, it's not the same way. It's not the same just taking what customer have and putting on the cloud, if you want to go the cloud. And just look at an example. So if you go with one way, which is on-prem, just putting on the cloud, then you will talk about the server, then you provide what it will be the server size, then you will talk about the backups, then you will talk about the lights, you will talk a lot about a lot of stuff, which is actually just the technical things. But you can always change the conversation and have, okay, so I have a full user and limited user, or a team member, or whatever you will call a premium user or gold user. You can name it as you wish. But in general, you can see the difference. In one side, you are talking just about the price per user. And remember, you are going to a conversation, you are going to a level of CEO, more or less. While if you have, if you are providing information of how big servers, how many RAM, what will be a data transfer, what will be a database size, and so on, you are already on a technical level. And the CTO will be a decision maker at the end of the day. And would you like to have them? Because if you go with that first message, what you will have? You will have a lot of questions. When I will need more resources, when I will need more bigger servers, when I will overgo my database size, and so on. You will get hundreds of questions related to technical stuff. Because technical people, they need to know. They are, as I call 0-1, they need to know exact answer to be able to believe that this is the right way. So you can go that way, but I would recommend to go another way. And to move from that conversation where you talk about the server hardware, about the electricity, room rents, and so on, to very simple pricing, which is called cloud-way pricing. And what it is, cloud-way pricing? So key principles for that is very simple. It needs to be predictable, it needs to be simple, and for sure it needs to be profitable. And usually what people think about profitable, they believe that if they are selling solution for the companies where there is only one user, they need to be profitable for each and every case. This is not the cloud way again. When you think about the cloud way, you need to think about the scale. You need to think about hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of users, and then to have the profit that you are going for. You need to put the target for that on where you would like to be, and then to think about the price. And the simplest way is, as I mentioned, it can be just two kinds of users, but you need also to remember that when companies grow, they might have different expectations. They might have different levels of their needs. They might have different things that they expect. So how to price it in the cloud way? So one of the examples can be that if you would be looking at it as three different offers. The one can be, for example, fully SaaS, where you're just taking Business Central from Microsoft as a SaaS version and providing it. Then you will list every service that is included in that per user price. It might be, again, different levels, full and limited or team member. And you have one option. Then you have another one, which is similar like a SaaS, but on your side, it's already not a SaaS because you are building it by yourself by using a hosting organization or by doing it by yourself on Microsoft Azure, but you already have another solution. And then you have a third one where customer can dream about all the stuff that they would like to change in the Business Central, and you will more or less can do those modifications. So you can put three different levels, and you also need to think about on how this organization can move from one to another, to one and to another side. It's not very easy. It's not out of the box usually, but again, your pricing model, migration from one to another, if you would have that as an offer, I believe you can convince a lot of customers when the conversation will go to the pricing. So think about that in a cloud way, add services that are needed, and then you will be on top of their mind. It can be much more than this. So it should not be everything that is included, again, but you need to look from your customer perspective. So if you have startups, maybe you need to have an offer for startup and call it startup user pricing. If you have enterprises, maybe you need to have enterprise user pricing. You can just put it by the size of the company. You can also put it by the industry of the customer, and so on and so on. Be creative on that, but make it very simple and dedicated to a customer. What else is important? So other things are that you need to remember is use Power Apps when you need some extension or when you need something to enter fast data. Not sometimes you know that in Business Central you can find pretty complicated ways because it's universal application. It's a big application with a lot of features. And if you need something smaller, for example, again, for those startups or small organizations, maybe you need to create some views, some pages, some data flows with Power Apps. It's quite interesting technology. It's just starting, but if you will invest it at the moment, you might be in the place where you're the first player in the market with such kind of functionality. Power BI is another one tool that is very well integrated with Business Central, where you, as you mentioned, you can use that tool, for example, to convince finance people. But the same you can convince CEO and shareholders by showing how easy they can see the information that is needed for them. And then finance people just need to make sure that this information is correct. So it's a different tool, it's a different thing. Also remember that there is a CSP channel where you can buy a SaaS version of Business Central. Again, partners who are in the market for 15, 20, or even longer period of time. So for those partners, it's not very easy to go to the SaaS. But if you will never start with that, it will be very hard when everyone will be there and you will be the only one who is not there. And customer expectations would be from you that you should be out there. So use CSP channel. you can have a lot of other services there. You can have storage, you can have different reporting tools, security tools, authentication tools, and so on and so on. There are a lot of things that are available when you are using Azure. And every time when you think about what you would like to provide, think it cloud way. If you want to put solution on the cloud, if you want to provide cloud services to your partner, to your customer, think it cloud way. So to summarize my presentation, just want to mention that you are providing, you are working, you are deciding who will be your decision maker. Not in all situations you will succeed to have the decision maker that you would like to have, but if you will try and if you will go with your communication in that way, you at the end of the day you will succeed in the most of the situations. And you also always need to answer to the question what cloud means to you, because if you have no answer why cloud for you, then it will not be on your priority list. It will not be something that you will be investing, that you will be thinking. And don't forget technical people. And I talked about technical people on the customer side, but use your own technical people. They can build a lot of things. They can build a lot of tools, and they can help you even to build sales opportunities. So use your technical stuff. They can explain you how good cloud can be and what are the benefits and how better it is than on-prem solution. And you might be asking, so how OneClick Factory can help in this journey? So definitely we can help you in a sales support. So if you need some help on convincing customers, you can approach us. We are working only through partners, so we are not competing with partner organizations. We are not selling to end customers. So we can always help you and support you in a sales process if you would like to sell Business Central to your customers. We also have a program and we have a methodology and processes on how to move from on-prem to SaaS in different ways. So it can be from on-prem moving to the cloud as on-prem and later on to SaaS as a full SaaS. It can be also direct migration and similar stuff. But we have all the programs, we have people, we are well known as Upgrade Factory for our Dynamics partners. So you can use us to help you in this journey. Also, we are CSP and direct provider. So if you are looking for a CSP and direct provider, you can approach us. Again, we can have a relationship and we can help you to sell CSP services to your customers. So use us as one of CSP channels. And by the way, you can have multiple CSP and direct providers, so you don't need to be stuck on one CSP provider, even though everyone would like to have you as an only one. But in general, you can have multiple. And then I already talked that we start our journey 6-7 years ago. I was one of the persons who started this business at OneClick Factory, who was working on that and managing the team. So we have OneClick Factory self-provisioning. So this is where you can take any of your on-prem Business Central or even NAV solution, starting from NAV 2015, which is actually not supported by Microsoft at the moment anymore. So, but you can put any on-prem solution and put on the cloud by using our self-provisioning service. So all those ways you can use, and all those are available from OneClick Factory. If you would like to try self-provisioning, here is the link where you can go for a free trial. We have this free trial program for new partners where they can try our self-provisioning service. So I hope I supported your thinking on how you can convince your customers to move to the cloud. Okay, so thank you for joining this webinar. And I hope to see you all on our next webinars. So again, as you mentioned, one of the easiest way to approach our team is just to write at service@oneclickfactory.com. But you can always go to OneClick Factory website and find much more. And by becoming our partner, you will be getting even more information and even more contact people from our side. So you will be able to ask and get answers much faster. So thank you, and hope to see you on our next webinars. Have a good day or evening or morning even for someone, and see you.